My 29F, racist parents, 60 meters, wanna see me after they disowned me 10 years ago. Need advice. My family are racist growing up. I mirrored their behavior. I didn't know any better. When I was 18, me and a friend went to a party, and that's where I meet my now husband. He broke through my defenses even after I was rude to him. I cringe now over how I treated him that night and months after. All because I was a racist. He distorted every racist beliefs I had. It took time, but eventually I realized how very wrong me and my family were. Reality slapped me hard in the face. But it was much needed slap. He tells me now, the way I treated him hurt. But he said he was determined to make me see him as a man and not someone less because he was a different race. I'm glad he did. Otherwise I would have missed out on being with my soulmate. He asked me out and I fell in love with him. He knew my family was racist, but he is not the type to stay quiet. So he wanted me to make an announce about our relationship. I was afraid, because I knew my family wasn't going to take it very well. But I was willing to do it for us. We had been dating for a while now. As expected, my family blew up. They threatened and harassed us. It was a bad time. But my husband stood by me and refused to let them intimidate us. When they realized he wasn't intimidated by their demands and threats, they turned to me. They said if I don't break up with him, then I was dead to them. My husband let me make the choice. I chose him. I was kicked out and it hurt. It really hurt. His family took me in as their own. They welcomed me. My husband was there for me through it all. We got married and now have 2 children. When I had my son, I guess I was naive to believe they would come around. But I was wrong. I sent a message to a cousin that I was still secretly in contact with that my family didn't know about. She said they didn't care. It was then I gave up and let them go. Then come to now, I got a message from that same cousin telling me that my dad had terminal cancer. He's been asking after me and wants to see me. She rang me after I gave her my number and she said he asked her to find out where I am and if she does to give me that message. I told my husband and he said if I decide to go, he will support me. But all I feel is pain. I'm torn up. I'm hurt and confused. I just need some advice on what to do. Because I don't know what to do. Well, whatever you decide, just remember being sick and dying won't make your father suddenly not racist. And losing her husband won't make your mother not racist. They still feel disdain if not hatred and even disgust for, in the specific, your husband and your children. Still, it's your dad and now he's literally dying. This may be your last shot at some kind of closure. Then again, closure is overrated sometimes. None of us, and even your husband, can tell you what to do. You're the one who needs to sit down and look at what life your parents gave you. And what choices they've made since you were born and in the past 10 years. And if you can live with the uncertainty of not going, or the uncertainty of what kind of welcome you'll get, good luck either way. Whatever you decide, there's no wrong decision. Also, your husband sounds like an amazing man. I think you should perhaps agree to a phone call with your father. If he apologizes profusely to you, your husband, and your children, then maybe you could choose to make a goodbye visit. But I don't think you owe those people any more than a phone call at this point. That way, if it goes as badly as many of us imagine, fear, you can just hang up and be done. A friend went through a similar experience, but it turned out her mother only wanted her at the funeral because she never told anyone there was any problems and wanted to put on a family front in front of everyone, and as soon as the funeral was over, contact was cut again, leaving my friend more sad and hurt. Unless your cousin's message also includes the words, "He is really sorry and wants to tell you in person," I wouldn't go. You don't know that he won't use his deathbed pulpit to double down on his racism and to attack your children for existing. Evil people love using the deathbed to settle scores. Your own parents chose hate over love. They're not even trying to reach you themselves. Your own mother is not trying. Can you imagine treating your babies like she treated you? Unless there's a more direct outreach and it includes a guarantee of an apology. Nope. You've already buried your parents and mourned the loss. 10 years they couldn't reach out? They couldn't break bread? They spent 10 years hating you for your choice in love. And now that your father is dying, he wants to have his sins forgiven? Hell no. They made their choice 10 years ago. Do you think they've changed? Do you think your father still hates your husband for the color of his skin? You owe it to your husband and children to stand tall and protect them against your family. My wife had a similar situation. Parents were toxic, manipulative, emotionally abusive and borderline physical. They almost kicked her out in high school. My family took her in. She had no contact with them for 6 years when mom got sick. Similar to yours. She wound up going back. I think it was okay for her. Gave her some closure. Kind of. But was very hard because her mom had not changed a single bit. Mom passed. Dad is pretty good. He made huge strides in amends and we see him a couple times a year now. So I think she is glad overall that she did it. Just to have her dad. Only you can decide. If this was a vote, I would vote on giving it one last chance. I would also approach it as, this is the chance. The minute it is not mending and is regressing, the chance is gone and you leave. What exactly would you accomplish if you saw your dad or parents? Your dad can't get on a phone to hear your voice before you upend your time to see them after all. It's been 10 years. It would requiring you going alone into a hostile environment. You definitely don't want to subject your kids to that. You don't owe your racist family a single thing. If you decide to go, then do it 'cause it's what's best for you. They're the ones who kicked you out. They're the ones who decided your new family was beneath them. I don't know if I would go if I were in your shoes. That's something you'll need to decide by yourself. But all I feel is pain. I'm torn up. I'm hurt and confused. I just need some advice on what to do. Because I don't know what to do. I tell my friends just recently, actually do whatever it takes you to survive. There is no wrong answer. Death, divorce, whatever tough life decisions. I told my friend whatever she decides I will support her. BC I'm team friend cheerleader captain. Your husband seems to be your cheerleader captain to support you. Ask yourself after he dies. Will I regret not seeing him? BC after he dies. He's gone. But you'll be here. With or without regret. You know yourself better than me. Will you regret it? Will this hurt you? Do or don't go see him for him. Do it, or not, for you. I'm so sorry for your pain. Loss of a parent is hard. No matter what your relationship is with them. BC parent-child relationships are complicated and multifaceted. I wish you peace. Please take care. This is such a tough decision. It makes me so thankful for my parents. When I had decided to marry a black man, I'm white. My grandma did not take the news well and told my mom that the family would shun me. My mom's response was, "Mom, if she doesn't love him enough to forsake her family, she doesn't love him enough to marry." I lost my husband and mom in 2004 and miss them. Grandma came around, and the family loved my husband. Maybe the folks have changed too. You are proof that it can happen. I wish you well whatever you do. Go see your dad for yourself, because once he's dead you're stuck on bad terms with him until your own death, and that's a heavy burden. Going to see him will spare you a lot of possible turmoil and regret and being able to forgive. Someone is never bad. Anyway, there are a lot more consequences if you don't go than if you do go. The worst that can happen if you do go and it's bad is that your relationship with him is just as terrible as it was before and you've lost nothing, gained nothing. And so what? It's worth it to check with the cousin if he has the intention to make amends, and based on some idea of the intentions, then you should go. Don't go. He only wants to see you know cause he's dying and wants your forgiveness before he dies. He should have done this way before now. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. When my grandmother was dying, for the first time ever she told my father, her son, that she was a bad mother and that she should have been better to him. She never admitted that before, and I do think it gave him some closure. It didn't fix anything. To be clear, it was too late for that. But for him, it helped to hear her acknowledge it. It sounds to me like you have your own unresolved feelings about your relationship with your father. Maybe it would help to write it all out for yourself. What is the best case scenario if you went? What is the worst case? If you are okay with the worst, and think the best is something that could happen, then personally I would consider going. But only you could know what is best for you. There is no wrong answer with this kind of thing. Just the potential impact of feelings and regrets. I'm sorry you have to deal with this. As a person who went low contact with a parent after years of emotional neglect and financial abuse, when I went to her deathbed, liver and colon cancer, I felt nothing. I was glad there was an end to her pain, but I was glad my mom died. When my oldest, 13 years old, and I went to the funeral, he said, "Truthfully, I'm not sad Grandma died. She didn't feel like a nice person to me." Which took me a while to get out of him because he was scared to hurt me with those words. I reassured him and told him it was okay that he felt so, and told me, "Whatever you decide to do, your feelings about it are valid." Red heart. Dad is only calling because he is dying. He wouldn't have cared if you were dying. They kicked you out and no one has talked to you for 10 years. I personally wouldn't reopen the door they slammed. If you decide to go, bring husband with you. Zero respect for men like your husband. NGL. Continuously begging after a racist girl? Have some self-respect. But congrats or whatever. Woman shrugging, medium dark skin tone. I'll share a story from my point of view. As I distanced myself from my family 4 years ago due to various reasons also. The decision was made to protect the physical and mental well-being of my family and myself. And my life did get better after removing the toxicity. I got news that my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer mid-2022. He was soon hospitalized and died at Christmas time the same year. Pretty much a year ago. The family wanted me to visit him. He in a roundabout way wanted me to visit. But his calls for a connection were marred with vague insults. It wasn't great. Anyway, the point of this, I didn't go to see him or the family, despite some of those close to me saying that I would regret it for the rest of my life. I think if I wasn't so resolute in the decision I made to cut contact, if I wasn't so proud of the increased happiness of my family and the betterment to mine and my partner's mental health, then I may have gone to him. But again, I did not. What keeps the regret away is the proof that the decision I made was the one that brought me closer to happiness and health. So think hard. Was choosing your husband over the destructive and unhealthy ideology of your family the thing that brought you the most happiness and future potential in life? Would engaging with your family have a lot of potential to cause mental anguish and drama in the future? If so, despite not visiting your father being hard, it was hard for me when considering the different possible outcomes at the time. You will not regret it. You will move on. Whatever decision you make, be happy that your husband is supporting you. He sounds like a great partner to have. I wish you both the best. This is not an easy decision. Your father failed you, and now that he's dying of cancer, it doesn't mean he won't continue to disappoint you. Best case scenario, he apologizes and wholeheartedly admits and realizes he was wrong. That is best case. Worst case, he is still the man he was. Maybe he tries to make amends, but it may be tied to some justification. In my personal experience, if your parent cannot be a source of unconditional love and support during your lifetime, they can't be the parent you needed all these years at the end of their life. I think if you decide to see him, you must have no expectations. Not even low. No expectations. If you go, it's for you and not him. We are all afraid of the regret that will follow, but it is my opinion that no matter what you choose, you will live with regret. Regret for not going. Or regret you were there at his weakest, and maybe you're sad for what could have or should have been. There is no easy road here.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.